Box Nation is planning this fight on July the 14th at West Ham Football Ground, Upton Park. How's West Ham been to work with?
I've worked in half a dozen football clubs, Manchester United, Spurs, you name them, Hampden Park, Wembley. I've done most of the big ones. I can honestly say I've never been a West Ham fan. I'm an Arsenal man, but I've now, we've done 2 shows here now, and I'm actually getting a bit of affectionate towards West Ham. The people here are fantastic from top to bottom. It's just they're so easy to work with. They're our sort of people. They're good guys. You can see in the background the pitch is being relaid, reseeded for the next season. But the owners of West Ham said this is a big fight. We want it to take part here. Many Premier League grounds would have said not on our pitch, but West Ham, they want it. They believe in it. They enjoyed the last event. We all work together really well, and I think that a fight like this should take place in the spiritual home of boxing. And I think it's brilliant that this is going to be full on the night.
Going back a second, putting yourself, if that's possible, into the position of the British Boxing Board of Control, how would you have dealt with it differently?
I believe that to go back on a decision without an appeal would be maybe a sign of weakness. But I do believe, and I know it's happened in the past, that to sit around a table and let's talk. Let's talk. How can this work? Now, one of the suggestions by the chairman himself, in my company, he actually said, I suppose we could run it whereas the British Boxing Board of Control run the undercard, and then we have a half-an-hour break before the main event, and Luxembourg can sanction the main event. That was, to us, a workable thing. But as I say, we didn't hear any response on that. They said they'd come back to us. They never did. The next thing, we had to get the show on the road, and then their statement come out. A conversation, a heavy fine. Everyone knows that the way to hurt a boxer is to fine him heavily. Footballers are fined. You've had some terrible violent incidents over the years on a football pitch. The worst I can remember is obviously Eric Cantona, but that was against a member of the public in the crowd, so obviously he was banned for a significant time. But on a football pitch, you see incidents that would only be classed as an assault on the street, and those guys get banned. I mean, recently you had Joey Barton, who I suppose lost the plot, as did Derek and David Haye in that split second of madness. These aren't rational people. They're guys that have got adrenaline pumping through their veins, and they do things on the spur of the moment that half an hour later they regret doing. And I just think a suspension and a heavy fine would probably have hurt Derek Chisora sufficiently enough for him not to do anything like that again. Personally, I don't think he would do anything like that again. I know Derek personally, and I can honestly say of all the boxers we've got, he's one of the most popular in our office. Now, if this is the guy that the board are painting out to be someone who's unhinged almost, that's not the case. Derek Chisora is a friendly, sensible guy, and what he did in Munich was stupid. I don't think he left that platform to exchange blows. I think he left that platform for a bit of banter, and it got a bit out of hand. I think David Haye and him were not on the same wavelength when they came together. And I think they both privately probably regret it. I don't think they're ever going to like each other, but Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank didn't like each other, but what happened. You can't turn back time. They're saying it's a bad example to the kids. Well, I contest that, because to me, if 2 guys are having a fight in the street, do you say to the kids, that's what you do to sort your differences out, or do you say to the kids, you get in a boxing ring and sort it out properly, like they used to in the old days, where it was in the gym after school? This is the same sort of thing. Do the kids want to have a lasting opinion of these 2 guys having a brawl at a press conference, or do they want to have a lasting opinion of this stadium full up, televised, under rules, and probably, and I'll be amazed if they don't, they have a hug afterwards? The whole thing wasn't staged. There's been some ridiculous things about things being staged. I mean, how 2 professional boxers can stage a brawl like that, then I don't know. Perhaps they should be in James Bond films, but it certainly wasn't staged.
Before we close, is there anything else you want to tell the fans on behalf of yourself, the event manager, or Box Nation?
Well, I just think I can't think of a bigger fight in the last few years. I mean, I think the biggest fight before this was probably Ricky Hatton and Floyd Mayweather, which was on at 4 o'clock in the morning. This is on at prime time. It's happening in London at a football ground, and everyone loves a football ground fight, and it will happen. It's happening. You might hear all the stuff, the politics that's going on. There's going to be, but forget all that. Buy your ticket, subscribe to Box Nation, and watch what is undoubtedly going to be a great fight.